I read about the YOLO economy, that, they're a generation that is really the most ready to get into work and step into senior roles, which is the millennials. They're supposed to be, this is their time, right? Like to take over. But they probably feel anxious about work now because it doesn't offer the stability, the security that previous generations associated with working for companies. So many people were furloughed, so many people, lost their jobs, and made from what I understand, it's made them rethink, how much of their lives they want to spend working for companies that offer no security, different from if you were just kind of freelance or an independent worker.
Yeah, technology is disrupting every industry. And it is important to ensure that individuals have the skills that they need to take advantage of these advances in technology. And that means whether it's going to be them developing sort of their own niche and understanding that I have something that individuals want to buy, or whether it's identifying an organization that may sort of organization that they believe that will sort of match their skill set and their mission and their goals in terms of whether it's their professional goals or, personal goals. Because a lot of times, an individual can sort of be interested in the organization's goal because it sort of coincides with how they feel personally. And professionally, it sort of makes sense. But the starting point for that is to ensure that people have the skills that they need. So we have to have a serious conversation about technology and how it's disrupting every industry. Again, we can't go back to what has been. And I give the example of the CD, the Walkman. You just look at the music industry, right? We don't need to purchase a CD in order to listen to a couple of tracks from our favorite artists, right? So you look at this distributor. So in order for everyone to take advantage, they have to first understand, how does these changes or advances in technology help me or hurt me based on where I am professionally, my skill set. I don't feel like that conversation is being had. It's just sort of artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's just, again, it's progressing at a speed that our leaders, our elected officials, worldwide are just not given the attention that they should give to these disruptors.
If we take it down to the micro level and you think of someone who, completed a degree in university, a master's, and to become a Wall Street trader or work in the finance industry, has spent 2-3 decades already doing that. They're now in their 50s. And like you say, technology is disrupting that. Now everyone can trade on an app.
Yeah.
You're saying that these people, everyone will have to retrain.
Yes, they'll have to figure out, they have to be strategic thinkers and say, okay, is my new niche going to be advice? But they're going to have to pivot, because if they don't, advances in technology are going to leave them behind.
And you think that's possible or is it we're just going to have to bear the pain for a bit, like other people had to when their industries were disrupted? It is going to be a painful moment, right?
Some industries are disrupted, and then again, some industries are gone forever.
Right.
So we have to have these conversations about what industries are in danger of being gone forever. What happens to that workforce? You don't wait until it occurs. You plan accordingly, and you start connecting them to other sort of parts of the economy, whether it's going to be the gig economy, whether it's going to be the technology industry that is going to now support these individuals, and sort of figuring out, what it is that they can do to now contribute to the new economy that, again, is going to leave some industries behind.
I think for a lot of people, especially the young, it's very easy to get, to feel dejected, because you feel like you're almost like in a no man's land, where you've just finished your degree and you are hopeful for a career or to embark on a career. Then COVID has happened. Not only how we work has been interrupted, and our ability to socialize, how, we become more anxious about how we socialize, and they're dealing with all of this at the same time. It feels as if there are some big businesses that are constantly disrupting and sucking in all of the labor. I look at a company like Amazon, but they've just opened, I don't know in New York, but here Amazon has opened salons. And I was walking past one and curiously went inside and saw from the inside the looks of people who are walking past. Because you would literally see Amazon and you think, oh, is that an Amazon store? An actual physical store? Oh, no, it says Amazon Salon. And so you're thinking, is this going to be the future where everything is going to be a few companies, and some of the big technology companies are going to dominate everything, and there's not going to be power for the individual or a small business?
That's exactly what can potentially happen. Because again, you look at technology disrupting so many industries. So when it happens, it's going to take either an investment from an Amazon, right? Because let's give the example of the salons, right? That would probably be difficult to have, to a difficult business model in New York City, just because, this is, it's fashion capital, and the salons are associated with a certain look, a certain, influence. So that at this juncture, Amazon can tap into, because people have been, you've had stylists that have worked out of their homes, like it's just so, people don't necessarily feel the need to go into at this juncture, don't feel the need to go into a particular salon in order to, have their stylist work with them. They move around with their stylist. So, but again, when you start to reduce the number of commercial spaces,
Right.
and then now there's less individuals that can afford those spaces, and then you have rents that are astronomically high, then you start pushing stylists further and further outside of the city. And now you're sort of only left with the workforce of stylists that if you are just going to get, maybe a blowout or, a sort of wash and set, you can pretty much do that anywhere. So, I don't see that business model sort of being effective yet in New York City. But again, we have to have the conversation about how technology is disrupting industries, right? We have to understand the interconnectedness of when one industry goes, who else will it affect, right? Because where there is weakness, well, strength at the top can be jeopardized by weakness at the bottom. And without looking at the data, you're sort of making decisions to sort of hold and support one industry at the expense of two or three that are going to sort of, again, cease to exist maybe 5 or 10 years from now.
Right. I am curious about what your political ideology is. Are you, left, right, center? What party?
I'm a common sense candidate. I think now I don't, I'm a registered Democrat, but, again, data guides my decision making, not an ideological sort of aspect. Data guides my decision. It's either a good decision or it's not.
Right, right. So it's not like you have a fixed set of beliefs that you think, no matter what the data says, This is my ideology. I am a Democrat. Like, for example, just looking at Los Angeles, and, I'm listening to conversations on both sides where, on the one hand, small businesses are saying, we really, really want staff and we're short staffed. And on the other hand, the government has started, I think, UBI for populations that would normally be going for those types of jobs. Looking at that kind of data, how would you interpret that?
Oh, companies need to pay more money.
Right.
If you are not factoring the fact that someone can actually make more money staying at home and going in and working for you and your organization.
Right.
And it's basic economics.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is home, they can invest in themselves, they can invest in their children. They don't have the added expenses of going to and from work. Mm-hmm. You don't have the expense of childcare. You just don't have all of that. So again, companies have to now adjust. They have to pivot.
Right.
And so they understand that if you want someone to go into your organization and work, right? Are you supplying masks? Are you supplying? We're in a new age, and so there's sort of two sides to every story. And again, looking at the data, the data would suggest raise your wages.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't that then strengthen big businesses? Because obviously a small business operator will never be able to afford paying the wages of somebody who's a big business. Doesn't that really make Amazon even more strong?
And it's, you have to make the hard decisions. So the decision is to go into business. You can't stay in business at the expense of your employees being insolvent.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And so it's either you can afford to keep your business open, or, your employees have to choose between healthcare and food.
Right.
You see?
But isn't that where, for example, government should step in?
Stepped in already, because they reduced their taxes.
They reduced their taxes?
They reduced the taxes.
For the businesses?
Yeah, in
for
general.
the big businesses.
That's stepping in, yeah, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. If Amazon, for example, was taxed higher, that way, an individual can decide, I don't fancy working for Amazon. It doesn't skill me any better. If government was going to supplement my wages, because like we say, AI and tech has disrupted our way of work and life, then that kind of gives individuals the power to choose to work for a small business.
When I say public-private partnerships, it is for larger businesses to support smaller businesses. Government technically subsidizing larger corporations, right? We don't pay our employees a living wage, so now they have to get Medicaid from the government, get food stamps from the government, et cetera. No, everyone has to pay their fair share, and whether your taxes are now, whether investments that you have instead of paying taxes are now going to help small businesses. In terms of subsidies, in terms of contracts, in terms of small businesses and larger corporations can be lifelines to small business owners. But again, we have to rethink business. We have to rethink the interconnectivity of our economies. Right. That's what happens. It's just the government. Instead of Amazon opening up salons, Amazon can create small business grants for salon owners.
Right.
They can support them, not just sort of try to remove them and now turn an actual business owner and their employees all into the Amazon consumer. Everyone can sort of share the benefits of a robust economy. So again, we need candidates of the future. We need We need candidates that understand that we want to now start holding large businesses and accountable in the way that now makes them also responsible for the vitality of smaller businesses that their business operations could possibly displace. And you don't know that they're displacing these businesses until they occur. And at that point, it's too late. So that's why I said we need to be intentional about our research.
Right. Yeah. One way I think our chancellor here, Rishi Sunak, has addressed some of the issues was to, for example, pay small companies to train young people. Yes. So you take them on and the government gives them a living wage to train with you, and they're employed by you. And that kind of really keeps, people in employment longer, gives young people the confidence to know that actually they can learn skills and